So I had a great question from our G Bowman's Journey, who said, "Big ups, Big G. Are you sequencing the drums only via samples audio? I was wondering if using sampler and programming them with MIDI is more versatile. What are your 2 cents on this? Keep it up, bro." So yeah, as you guys probably noticed from my workflow, I never use MIDI to sequence my drums. It's not that you can't do that and get good results with it. It's just my workflow essentially. But yeah, basically how I do my drums is I'll do, just to break it down quite simply, I do like a combination of one shots and loops usually. So what I've noticed is that having stuff in audio is really the key for me. It's what helps me with my workflow the most, like by far, because when you're in MIDI, you don't know what the sounds actually look like, and you don't know the exact position of them often. And so for me, like having the visuals of all of the drum hits is like the most helpful and useful thing for me. So yeah, that's the number one reason why I prefer audio. I would say it's just having that visual guide, so I can, you can see if transients are too loud. You can see what kind of sounds you're dealing with, what kind of volume that they're at, how long the tails are, if there's any reverbs. There's like so much you can see in the audio that you just can't see in the MIDI. And so like a lot of the writing process is based around me really seeing where all the drums are, so I sort of know how they're all going to interact in the mix and things like that as well. And yeah, and also another reason why is because I always tend to I always make my drum groups out of a wide variety of different sounds, like a kick from this sample pack, a snare from that sample pack, a hat loop from like another sample pack, a particular ride shot from another sample pack. So like when you're sequencing in MIDI, for example, it would be a real pain for me to have to bring all of these sounds from different places and then put them into like a MIDI instrument. Like it just feels a lot faster for me to just like find a sound, drop it in the project, find another sound and drop it in. And yeah, so I'll do a lot of one shot programming, just moving things around in the arrangement window. Like obviously the kicks, I moved them around like to the positions that I wanted them. I moved the snares to where I wanted them. This is from just the last video yesterday where this question arose, in my phase plant, the day before yesterday, sorry, my phase plant tutorial. And yeah, I'll have like one shot rides which I'll move around to where I want them. Hats, like this is often with hats I'll try to use loops if I can, and I'll like pick percussion loops and I'll chop them around. Like I've got a percussion loop here, and so because I didn't like the actual position of the original kind of loop and where the little fills were, I was able to quickly just chop and move it around. So that's very effective for me to chop and move around like loops. So yeah, I'll use a combination. It'll be like 50-50 in my drums usually. It'll be like 50% one shot sounds that I will just move around myself, program around just in the arrangement window, and 50% loops, because I like the natural feeling that's already built into them. And again with those I will like cut them and move them around, and that's absolutely fine for me. That's how I get the quickest results for my drums. And I use a lot of breaks as well. So I use like, yeah, tons of old school breaks, and yeah, just different kind of drum and bass and jungle breaks, and use bits and parts of those and chop and move the audio around. And yeah, back in the day, many years ago, I had some experience with yeah, programming drums with MIDI. But yeah, for those main two reasons of, one, like seeing the audio, and two, the fact that I always source all of my drum hits and loops from like various like different places. Like this is not a good example, because this is just a little loop that I've done for a tutorial, but realistically, when I'm doing like my drums usually in a track, I will literally be I will be scouring my hard drive and scouring the internet far and wide for like each individual sound. So the whole drum group will have been built up from like many different sources, and so that's why yeah, it's easier for when I find that new sound, I can just drag it straight in and put it straight in the group. So yeah, and yeah, the visual guide, as I mentioned. So that's just my 2 cents. Yeah, this just, I'm just talking about my workflow here. I'm not saying that it's the right way or wrong way to do it, but someone just asked, so that's the answer. Hopefully it helps you out a bit. Maybe you're sequencing in MIDI and you're finding that you might want to switch to audio. What you can also do is, if you've got like really cool you know, Superior Drummer or MIDI oriented drum, well, this is what I've done loads as well in the past, because I've had like those drum not drum synths, drum instruments, whatever, the way we have pre-recorded yeah, drum samples. I've used those loads, and I'll use the bits that I want and I'll bounce them out, and then I'll program the rest in MIDI. So if you've got Superior Drummer, I would still like program a hat loop in it and then just bounce out the loop and use that. But I wouldn't keep the drums in MIDI ever. Like, I would always put everything into audio. Even with my basses, I always, like, as soon as I finish synthesizing them, I put them all into audio. So like everything goes into audio really quickly, and especially as I'm on a tight time schedule with writing tracks, I never go back like to look at the MIDI and change it really now. Like, I just, when I create a sound in MIDI, whether it's a drum loop or anything, when I'm like 90% happy with it, I'll bounce it out and I'll just move forward, because I don't really have time to ever go back and readjust it. Time is just too precious. But yes, in audio is how I do it, and I don't find that there's any issues or problems just like moving one shots around to like create the groove like in the arrangement window. Like, I find that absolutely perfectly easy and fine to do, and I love to see the exact like file, like the exact waveforms when I'm doing it. Alright, so I hope that helps you. May I quickly remind you, if you'd like to have one-on-one production lesson with me, there is links for that down below. As always, my calendar will sync to your time zone. I've been teaching for over 5 years now, mentored well over 100 people, got students to sign on hospital records, RAM records, you name it, I've helped them out. I've also got loads of preset packs on my website if you want, for Phase Plant, Vital, and now Current as well. And I do mixing and mastering as well. I typically end up mastering a bunch of tracks every month, but I do have some extra time to do some mastering at the moment. If you ever want any work done, email me at info@artifactmusic.com. Last but not least, I have a fantastic Discord community on Patreon as well, and there's loads of cool stuff on my Patreon in the lower tiers, under €10. If you don't want to join the Discord, there's loads of cool free stuff on there, and it helps a lot. It helps me a lot when you support the channel that way. All right, thank you very much, my G's. I'll be back very, very soon. More from me then. Much love.